Guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Easy Spotlight podcast. Today we are joined by a returning guest, Kuda Mushangi. Welcome. How you doing, brother?
Yeah. I'm good, man. I'm good. Blessed. 2024. We're here, Yeah, exciting.
That's great because the last time we caught up was in 2022. So it's been over a year ago. Anyone can go back and listen to the original podcast we
Yeah,
did. But at that time, you were, still grinding in
yeah.
your architectural studies. You know, you're always an artist. You're an artist first.
Trying,
And,
man.
and and since then, a lot's happened. You've gone further. I think you qualified now. So give us an
Yeah,
update. What's happened in the last year from an art perspective and also from an architectural perspective.
sure. So, I think last time I think you and Chike came here to record, and it was in like the patio that I have outside. Yeah, I remember that. Since then, qualified as an architect. So finished all my studies. Everything's done. 9 years. Just grinding away. As people will know, becoming an architect is quite a long journey. It's quite well documented. But yeah, I was able to do it. Able to do it, get over the line. The last year was definitely the hardest of the whole 9 years for sure. But I'm just glad to be done with it and to actually just call myself an architect now rather than you know describing to people what I do, because you can't call yourself an architect. It's actually technically illegal, to call yourself an architect if you haven't qualified and you're not registered. I mean, I'm just glad that I can just call myself an architect now. Um, and then in terms of the art's been, since last time, it's been a great, push in terms of that. London's the hub for it. So, sorry, I was able to, have a few exhibitions here. I was shortlisted for the Ingram Prize, which was massive, because I think that was 2022, like towards the end, so like November. It still would have been after the last recording that we did. So that was massive, one of the, most important and, significant collections in the UK. So shortlisted for that, got to the final, had a massive exhibition. It was great. I was able to do that, meet new people, is honestly amazing. And then last year, 2023, had two exhibitions. One towards the beginning of the year, which was cool, and then learned from that. It was a great exhibition, but then I was able to have another exhibition towards the end of the year. So it's quite a big gap between the two, but between then I've just been pushing my artwork more than I ever could, more than I thought was possible. But yeah, that's the update really. So yeah,
No, a steady ascension.
yeah, exactly.
Continually growing, continually improving. Just touching on the architecture bit, becoming qualified and actually passing that, as you said, it's 9 years.
Yeah,
It's a long journey. It involves a lot of sacrifice, a lot of everything else.
yeah, for sure.
When you receive that degree, what's the feeling? Is it relief? Is it proud? Is it like it's done? How does that feel?
It's crazy, man. So, so to become qualified, you have to do like the undergrad, which is the part one, and then your master's degree, which is like the postgrad, which is part two, and then you have to do another one, which is part three, which is what I did last year. Um, so I've had three graduations, but man, the way that I felt after the third one, it was like no other. It was crazy, man. It was just like, you know, I'm just thinking of like, my younger self, because this is something I genuinely like. I'm not even trying to like, um, blow up the story or, exaggerate it. I've wanted to become an architect since like 9 years old, and like my family know that like, it's something that I've always worked towards. So yeah, when I had my graduation, I just thought about like my younger self, like, all the things that I had to like push through, the doubt, the self doubt. Oh my word.
Talk
Like,
about it.
yeah, throughout the journey, it's just like the self doubt that you have where you're like, is this for me? Is this, the career for me? Is this the right industry for me? All of these things you think about, and just to be able to like push through all of that and just move all these things out of the way and just get to the finish line. It was, I was just proud of myself, proud of myself, proud of myself.
You should be. What gets you through that?
Everyone.
You know, when you're feeling that self doubt and you're going through it, and you're like, God, is this for me? What is the thing that you go back to push through and get to that, to keep
Um,
going, to get to the next step?
I guess uh, different things really. I think the fundamental is like the one I always keep going back to is like why I'm doing it, why architecture is important. Um, what can architecture do and change in the world? These kind of big picture questions, I guess, really help me kind of go back to why I started doing this in the first place. So that's important. And then also, I have to say as well, I was 8 years in, and I was like, I can't quit now. Like, I have to keep, like, I have to keep going, man. Yeah. So it's that as well. I'm not
You're
gonna
not a
lie.
quitter. So
Yeah,
you're saying your why. That's the core.
yeah, for sure.
Can you share what your why is? Because
It's
that's a
just
big thing. That's going to guide a lot of people, and it's interesting to hear what is that why of yours.
for sure. It's just I just think we all experience buildings, whether that's a house or when you're out on the street. All of these things are experienced by people in general. So just having the skill set to be able to contribute to that is quite important. So being able to just know that I can trust in my skills to be able to design good buildings, good houses, and to solve problems within the world, within the UK, like let's say, because I work a lot in residential. So it's what I've always focused on. And I really have a passion for. And I think I said a similar thing last time. I hope I said a similar thing last time and not like jumping from yeah, different things. But yeah, I love housing and good quality housing. I think, it's a necessity for everyone. So yeah, just being able to contribute to that is amazing. So that's my why really, just having that drive to have better quality housing across the world.
Amazing. And we're going to switch over to the art now. I know you've pushed
Yeah.
yourself and you continue to push yourself. And I'm actually noticing, listening back to the last podcast and also, keeping up with you just generally
Mm,
throughout the year, discipline is a big thing in your life in
massive,
different multiple areas, you know.
for sure.
And so first I want to talk about a challenge that you set yourself last year. You know,
Yeah.
you were kind of holding it to me. You won't share it till the end of the
Yeah.
year. But but
Yeah.
tell the people about this challenge and what
Yeah,
you
we
kind
are.
of learned from this and how you stuck to it.
Yeah, sure. So, I think it was in March of 2023 where I was like, because I don't really set New Year's resolutions or I don't really write stuff down because that's a whole nother story. But basically, in March, I was like, what do I really want to do with my art? And I was like, I usually do in a year. I usually do about 4 paintings, I'd say 4 or 5, 5 max to be honest. And I was like, how can I push myself, as much as I can, bearing in mind that I'm still studying and I work full time as well. Um, so I was like, how can I make use of my time as much as possible and just see if I can do it? And I was like, you know what, I'll try to do. I think initially I said 30 paintings, and then I pushed it to 50 paintings by the end of the year. And then I was like, you know what? The little voice in my head was just like, double it. I dare you. Double it. And I was like, right, I'm going to do 100. So I'm going to try to do 100 paintings from March to December. And I did that, I did the maths, I did like, okay, I need to do, I don't know, like a painting every 2 days or every 3 days or whatever. But then life gets involved. Life gets involved. Things happen. You're busy at work. You're ill. That's a week gone, so your calculations are way off now. Now you have to do like something ridiculous, like, 4 paintings in a day,
Mm.
So, um, yeah, so I really pushed to get 100 paintings done. And then by the end of the year, I did 105. So, yeah. Um, yeah, honestly though, it was so difficult. That was like I think in December, um, just after Christmas, there was a period of like, let's say 2, 3 days where I had to do like 5 paintings a day just to like keep up the, the whole challenge. And, I was going to sleep at like, well, I usually sleep at like 2 a.m. anyway, but this is like a ridiculous amount because you're using your mind, to create ideas, and then you're creating these paintings, and then, okay, now it's the next one, and then the same thing again. And yeah, but I did it. That's the main thing. So
I mean, that's incredible. So
it's
what
fun.
kind of parameters did you set yourself? Because when you do anything for yourself and
Yeah,
essentially you can do what you want. You could bend the rules, you could change them, but it seems like throughout the year you were disciplined of yourself, you stuck to it, you kept on raising the bar, and as you say, when you
yeah,
get into December, it wasn't like, "Ah, I can just cut this down now and
yeah,
one a day now for December is good." He's like, no, I'm going to
yes.
push past this, and I'm keeping myself to a high standard. So what was that standard for you in this journey? What was the standard you set yourself?
I think the thing is because obviously 100 having that target of 100 is it's a number, but I had to remember that I wanted to create art. That's the main thing. So I wanted to make sure that I don't lose the quality, or like that I'm always kind of pushing my ideas more than anything. It's not about trying to reach the number per se. It's more about pushing my ideas, pushing my creativity. Um, and the worst thing about the 100 thing as well, by the way, is some days, I just think I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I just want to go to bed, and then I can't do that because I know that I've set myself this challenge. It's that, and then it's also just like everything was kind of revolving around that now. So if I had I do have a social life, so
You do?
so if I needed to like meet up with a few friends for a drink or whatever, then I think, okay, I need to do the painting before then, because I know that so one rule that I have as well is after I've had a few pints or whatever, I don't like to paint. I don't paint. So all the all my work has to be done like sober.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I have. Not something that I'll stick to just in case, but like just in case in the future that I contradict that. But all of the paintings that I did, let's say in the year, were all while I was sober. So yeah, I guess the standard was to keep up the quality and also to remain disciplined in terms of keeping up the challenge.
It's I think a lot of artists or a lot of creative people will face this challenge or this pull between I want to be artistic, I want to be creative, but how do
Mm,
I do that and also be disciplined? Because they're
yeah,
kind of pulling at two different things. When you're being really disciplined and in a routine, it's not a very creative space, you know.
yeah,
So how are you able to create ideas? Because I think every artist must go through this. I'm going through this where I'm thinking, I really want to be consistent all year, but how
yeah,
can I come up with enough ideas
yeah.
that fulfill that? So where were your ideas coming from?
That you know what? That's a great question, because that was probably the hardest thing for sure. Because sometimes, like, I just sit there and I just think, I don't really know what I want to paint. I have no idea. And by the way, with this 100 challenge, um, it was 100 paintings. It wasn't like sketches. There are no sketches. It was literally paintings that were of high quality. In terms of my skill. Sorry, my style. So
What
um,
size was it? Like just
uh, they were all like A3, I'd say A3.
okay.
Um, so they were all that size. I just use oil paints as I always do. But the ideas, man, sometimes I just think I have no idea what I want to do right now. But what I do is I just get ideas from like my favorite artists. I study their work, have a look at what they've done, and then the thing is, every painting that I did throughout the challenge, something I was trying something new. So whether that's like composition, or whether that's color relationships, or so there's always an idea that I'm trying to test. So that was the kind of driver. So it doesn't have to be something completely brand new. It could be a small tweak. It could be complete change, or it could be an idea that I've wanted to try for ages. But I'm always trying something new with every single painting. So I like to see it as 100 paintings that all have a unique thing that I tried to do. You know.
Mhm. Do you think if you look back at them now, if they were all in one room on a wall, there'd be a theme, or do you think it's
Mm.
really you allowed your brain to really go everywhere? How do you think you'd look at them if you just to see it on a blank
Um,
wall?
you know what? I was thinking this morning actually, because I haven't seen them all together. You know, at all, you know, because I've just done one and then put it away, done one, put it away. So it'll be interesting to see all of them together, and I think there will be a consistency in terms of my the vibrance, the vibrancy of the color, I guess, as well, and also the style. I guess you'll probably be able to see that they're all one of the same family, you know, in some way. But some of them are shockers, by the way. Some of them are terrible, I have to say. But I'm so proud of those ones more than anything because I tried something new and it didn't work out, you know. So yeah,
It's where you learn, right? In all
exactly.
of those. So
Yeah,
last time we talked a little bit about social media,
yeah,
relationship with social media, and especially when you're, creating art and being artistic and wanting to share it. The
yeah,
same theme is coming through here in that you're able to just really explore, I guess, inwardly. Like,
yeah,
or, you do your work, you put it away, you move on to the next one. You do your work, you put it away to the next one. Your social
yeah,
media sites still remain very consistent. We talked about like kind of sharing the way maybe you want to share more or a different kind of journey. How has that evolved
sure.
for you? Do you think your relationship with social media you want to continue to post, or is it important
Mm,
that you keep some stuff to yourself,
mm.
in your artistic adventure?
Yeah, great question again. I think my I was thinking about this morning as well, and I think with social media, it's not going anywhere, you know. I primarily use not TikTok, Instagram, but over the past week, I have been on TikTok as well, and just like seeing, you know, how people use it, um, you know, because it's quite overwhelming. I think when it first came out, TikTok. I was overwhelmed and like overstimulated. That's the word. Um, but then, you know, I've been using it for like the past week just to see, you know, what's on there, the content and like how people edit their videos and stuff. Super fascinating, and I don't think it's going anywhere. So I think I have to embrace social media as a whole, and I just have to have like a good relationship with it. So especially now that I have like these, you know, 100+ paintings, I'm like, you know, do I keep some of them or do I just show them all? You know, what do I do with them? So I guess I'm just trying to go through that over the next few days as well.
That's absolutely, because from my perspective, it'd be amazing to see your journey. You know,
Mm,
of course, we love seeing your polished work and things, but it's
yeah,
interesting as you say some of your favorite paintings are there are the ones that maybe you believe are the worst. But there's
yeah,
something special in being able to see the process to some degree. And
mm,
I know there's a part of that that you can keep to yourself, but at the same time, it's kind of peeling back the curtain a little bit and saying, "Wow, this process. It's not so simple."
yeah,
It looks polished from the social media side of it, but from the actual everyday 100 paintings, pushing yourself, a lot
sure.
different, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I actually went through that yesterday because every year, pretty much, I do like a self-portrait. And it's like my time to like reflect on the year and, you know, how the year's been and stuff. Um, and yeah, like, you know, I actually documented the whole process of of the self-portrait. And you know, I'm not a video editor, but I think if I have time, I want to put it all together and just do something with it. Um, but yeah, you know, I think that's the first time that I've like recorded my whole process, um, and just, you know, had that there. But the thing is, I don't have a tripod, so it wasn't like it wasn't perfect, but you know, it got people got the you'll get the idea, you know, of how I go through my painting process. So yeah,
I think we'll look forward to seeing it. I don't think anything needs to be perfect. You know what I mean? There's kind of
yeah,
something that's more genuine in it not being perfect. I think that's what you see in like TikTok and Reels. Sometimes just seeing the content is more important
yeah.
than it being like a edited Netflix movie. Anyway,
Sure. But that
so
being said, you know, let's say with your like podcast, did you like with the recording, which I listened to the Spotify one? It's amazing, by the way. Genuinely, I was impressed, especially because like I read the the blog one first, the blog review, and then I listened to it. So I said it to you when we were speaking that it's like an expanded version of what you'd written, which is amazing. But like when you recorded it, so did you? How do you think you performed when you recorded it? Like in terms of like, have you listened back to it at all? Or
I listened back to it once, and
yeah.
that's how I do for everything. that I
Okay.
make, because I know I'm not at a level where things are going to be perfect. So if
Yeah.
I can go through it and I can hear every stutter, or I
Yeah.
can,
It
you know,
happens.
hear me breathing and like not catching my breath. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really. I don't think it matters that much. It's more important that it's just out there and that it's done. And over time, it's kind of like your better paintings; they'll get
Sure.
better,
Yeah.
And so,
100%.
not to just get stuck on that so much and just keep moving forward is
Yeah.
is how I kind of look at those things. But yeah, especially when you're doing a podcast or something, listening to your
Yeah.
own voice is not the most fun experience. Especially like 30 minutes. You're like, God, I'm sick of this guy. I don't want to hear
Yeah.
this guy's voice again, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool.
No, I get.
One thing I want to ask you, when it was going back to the ideas,
Yeah.
influences, and kind of touching on role models, because you're not really talked about this
Yeah.
so much, but who are some of your influences and role models that kind of guide you in art and architecture? I'm just interested in
Yeah.
this area.
I think I study a lot of artists, like in general. I think I'm always looking at artists. My favorites are like the likes of David Hockney. The thing is, the when you hear like the greats, like let's say like Van Gogh or David Hockney and I don't know, like Lubena Himid or whatever, like they're all great for a reason. There's a reason why people put them on that pedestal. So I study them a lot. But Lubena Himid is like a figurative artist based in the UK who, if you look up her work and then you look at mine, you'll see that mine is heavily influenced by her work. So I say she's right up there, and then I take a few from all of them, really, all my favorite artists, and I guess I get inspiration from them, but also I like to look at like other um, kind of forms of art as well. So let's say photography as well, and then just thinking like the other day, because I live in East London, and I went to the Barbican, which is not too far from here, and I went to watch like an orchestra randomly. I literally just I was walking, went in there, and I was like, oh, there's BBC Symphony Orchestra playing, sold out show, and then all of a sudden there was one free ticket. So I was like, I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna see what it's like, and then I was just so inspired just to see like another art form, just especially I don't know what the guy's called, but the guy that you know oh what's
Composer.
it yeah, the guy that actually leads the whole
Yeah.
orchestra. Yeah, like I don't know, just seeing how that that works. I just get inspiration from everywhere. From that and photography, which is more direct, but also films as well. Recently I've never really been big on films, but recently I'm starting to watch quite a lot. So um, yeah, get it from everywhere.
That's cool. Interested to see how people pull from different areas, whether they stay solely in their art lane, whether they're pulling from, music, or the orchestra, or your favorite artists, or just
Sure.
people around you, people in your
Yeah.
community. Are there people in your everyday that impact your work? Is that that big player
Yeah.
too?
100%. So I think in terms of like going back to what you asked about, like how do I get the ideas for the 100 paintings, let's say, um, a lot of them were just focused on like the everyday stuff, what we all go through in our house, and because I spend so much time painting, but at the same time I spend so much time in my house, so it's just like capturing those little moments, and putting them in paintings. I really had fun doing that this year,
Mm.
just having fun, just like painting things, like incorporating like new ideas, like humor in my work. It's
Mm.
not something that I've really done before, but just like studying artists who put humor in their work and just seeing how that kind of comes through into into the artwork that they do. It's just those kind of ideas, and I don't know. It's just like capturing the everyday was something which really kind of allowed me to drive towards that challenge and just push my artwork.
Did capturing the everyday kind of, you think you move through the world a little bit differently when you're looking at everything with the lens of, I want to translate this into a piece of art?
Yeah,
Do you think,
100%. Yeah, no, that's a great point because it's so true. Because you start to think like, especially when I was doing this challenge, I was just like, can that be an artwork in some way? Like, as in like a moment something happens, I'm like, how can I create that into like, take that and create art from it? Um, which is, yeah, it was an interesting challenge. Um, so you do view the world differently for sure. Yeah, it was great.
I think that's the best thing about self challenges in a way, regardless of what they are. They make your everyday world, the everyday surroundings, just different. It's like
Yeah,
refreshing them every day, looking at it from a different perspective. So that's cool.
100%.
Two areas I want to go to. One is balance, work balance, going back to a bit of architecture and art again. And then, of course, I want to just touch on community at the end a little bit. But
Mm,
first, now that you're a qualified architect, I'm
yeah,
not quite sure how your work life has changed. I'm assuming maybe a bit more responsibility. I know you're always pushing your art. How is that relationship developing, evolving? I know over a year ago you were busy, you were doing your Sunday paintings, but you were still heavily studying. How's that evolved? How's that changing for you? And what are you learning and balancing your passions?
yeah. So it's just, I guess, now being a qualified architect, there is a bit more responsibility at work, which is good, which is nice. But in terms of what I do, I'd say it's pretty much the same. Um, but yeah, so there's more responsibility there, and then because I was studying, there's balancing that. So like especially like let's say December, or like January especially actually, where like it would be busy at work because things are kicking off again. And then I'd be studying my part three, so the final qualification, and I'd have exams coming up. And then also, I was also trying to like start painting here and there. In fact, a better example is probably May, where like I started the challenge, which I set in March to do the 100 paintings, but I was also studying for exams and work was busy. So like just having those three things, like, trying to juggle them all was quite a lot. But discipline, honestly, is just having the discipline to say, yeah, I'm at work, let's say from 9 to 6:30. And then let's say I'm going to the gym, go to the gym for like an hour, then I'm on YouTube, break it up a bit, watch something silly. I don't know. So I spend a lot of time on YouTube, to be honest. So
Don't we all?
uh, yeah, yeah. So there's that, and then do a bit of studying, and then paint until like let's say 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then
What are
go
your
again.
do you have tool? Do you plan that? Like how when you've got three opposing different things that you've got to be doing, are you someone
Mm.
who's like you're planning the week, you're planning the day, or you kind of just take it as it comes, go with how you feel, knowing that you kind of have to prioritize at a different level? Like, do you have a kind of a system in place that you work through when times get busy like this?
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm quite big on, which I've done for I think 3, 4 years now, meal prepping. So meal prepping, I literally did it before we started this actually. It's just doing that allows me to free up time. So I don't have to go home and think, okay, what am I cooking tonight? What am I cooking tonight? It's just having that sorted. Gives me the hour and a half that I need. Let's say. Um, so that's a big one, and then just knowing that I having a structure in terms of what I do from once I finish work and then before I go to bed. What do I need to do? What are the priorities? So let's say if I have exams coming up, I have to study. That is the priority, and then after that I can paint. So it's like things like that. Just making sure that you're preserving your brain energy, I guess, as well, and using it at the right time. Because if I painted and then I studied, it just wouldn't work because you know it just wouldn't work. So yeah, that's a key one. Just discipline in terms of what I do after work.
And do you think that's your structure is just as you go through the week, it's the same every week? Because I know I saw in your story the week you're still doing your 5K runs, you're still
Yeah,
doing the same thing. So is it just maintaining, regardless of the environment, regardless of the week, you always roughly have a same structure that you just go back to?
yeah,
That's what it kind of seems like, right?
yeah, 100%. And it's like it's knowing that, especially like with the 5K thing, the running. It's just knowing that some weeks it will be a good run, and some weeks it will be a terrible run. You know, it's just knowing that not every single thing that I do has to be amazing. It's the same with the painting as well. Like as I said before, like some of them were terrible, and some of them were, you know, my best work for sure. So it's just knowing that, you know, this will always happen. You know.
Where does that perspective come from? Or just your ability to like give yourself grace and allow times to change, allow, you know, you're able to recognize when things are getting tough, or where you need to step back, or where things aren't going to be as good. And you don't seem to, you know, a lot of people will stick on that, will beat themselves up about that. You know, where do you think you've been able to learn that ability, learn that space?
I think it's just because you just learn from, you know, life. I think in general, you know, because life gives you the good and the bad. So it's just how you deal with the bad afterwards, you know. So it's knowing that I haven't dealt with it well in the past, but how can I deal with it well, you know, when it comes again, you know. So it's just it's just knowing to having the ability to be able to step back and just look at when something happens and how you're going to react to it, how you're going to respond to it. Um, you know, I think that's a key skill. And, you know, I'm not perfect at it. I'm really not. But, you know, I'm working through it. I'm trying.
It looks
So,
like it. So last question, and this is gonna come back to community. Of
yeah.
course, I'm always harping on community. Last time we were in the podcast, you were 6 months into London. You know,
Yes.
relatively new to London, East London. Since then, you're still living in the same place, but
Same place.
also
Yeah.
a lot of other things have grown, communities in other areas. I want to ask you, who is your community? What makes up Kuda's world? You know, you don't
Yeah.
have to name names and of people, but just say, you know, who makes up your world, you know?
Yeah. Um, let me think. I think it's difficult, to be honest, to think of a community that I'm part of, because what I do is just so, like, I'm not part of like an art collective or anything, or I'm not really part of any of that at the moment anyway. But I'd love to engage with people who are keen on getting into art, in terms of just like have an interest in art, you know, because a lot of people think the art world or like art is something which is not intimidating, but like, you know, it's like, oh, I can't appreciate that because I'm not an artist, or I can't have a go at painting because I'm not an artist. I can't um, I can't appreciate this piece of work because I don't understand it. So I guess where I sit in this, and the community that I want to engage with, is the ones where there are people who want to become art enthusiasts, but they just don't know how to do it, or why artwork's good, or how they can start painting. So like a lot of people, like, to be honest, my friends, so my close friends say, and I love when people do this, by the way, like they'll they'll message me and say like, oh, you know, um, obviously they don't know me as an artist, and they'll say, I want to get into art, I want to try it. What do you recommend? Um, you know, what supplies do I need? How do I do it? Those kind of questions, you know. So I love just engaging with people who are keen on art in general, because they're not within the art world, but they're just keen on getting into it. So yeah.
So that's a community you kind of want to evolve into more. So I would
Yeah.
challenge you, and I'm going to push you a little bit here, okay?
Yeah.
And say that you're already part of an art community that because I'm really focusing on your world, right?
Yeah.
So your say Instagram world, your Instagram art community that you're posting, you're engaging with, your
Yeah.
architecture world that you're going to work every day seeing people, and just
Yeah.
being where you live, you know, in Shoreditch,
Yeah.
you're in one of the most creative, interesting places in the world, you know, in terms of
Mm.
just what you're interacting with. So, what are the things that you kind of interact with? Doesn't have to be uh, like a specific person said, just that you, and it doesn't have to be a group. Like when I think of community, I don't think so much of like, oh, I'm part of a cycling club. I'm part of the Easy Cycling Club, so
Yeah.
I'm part of that community. Like,
Yeah.
what is the things that make up your influence, make up your world, make up your community? I know it's a more, you know, different question, but I'm just interested to see if I'm pushing you a little bit on that thought. Who
No,
makes up your influence and your community?
I get you. I think I think a good example of that is the exhibition that I had towards the end of 2023, which is uh, people of color in architecture. So it was essentially people with a similar background who working in architecture, but also artists. Amazing exhibition to be a part of because it was the first time meeting, people who are like me, who work in architecture and also do art. So that was great to kind of be part of that community in terms of, we were all collectively there together and just to meet so many cool people and just, really celebrate our work. That was cool. So I guess the community that I'm part of is always, it changes in terms of like the exhibitions that I'm part of. So when I'm in a new exhibition, I'm part of that community now because we're all celebrating the work that we're all exhibiting. So yeah, so I guess that's the community that I like to be a part of.
Beautiful. Because I think we talked separately about, especially, I don't think we've got enough time to speak to it here, but the Black experience, you, especially in the
Yeah,
architecture world, underrepresented, you continuing to represent that. I think you're doing a lot. You have done a lot for that
thanks, man.
already, and you barely started. Do you know what I mean?
All right, man. Thank
You've
you,
been
man.
speaking, your artwork speaks for itself, and you continue to push that. So just to close up here,
Mm,
2024, we're here. We're here now.
we're
This
here.
will be coming out in early January. Any things to look out for? I know last year you had some momentous things that you didn't mention in terms of finally selling paintings and continuing to progress. What can we look out for in 24?
24, I think, it's just content. I'm looking forward to like showing the world, the paintings that I've been working on because I've pushed myself like no other year that I've ever pushed myself. So I'm really proud of myself for the amount of paintings that I've done and like the work that I've created more than anything. So yeah, I'm looking forward to like sharing the content, and the process. Um, and yeah, hope people like it, that's the main thing really. So, and yeah, as I said, I guess, one thing that I'm just trying to figure out is whether I post them in like chronological order or whether I just post like the best ones but the best thing is now that I have the flexibility with that, it's not like I'm struggling, to think of the work to produce to then post, the work is there. It's just, what do I want to show? So yeah, I'm looking forward to showing people in 2024.
It's a good place to be. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Kuda, I appreciate you as always, man. Thanks for jumping on
Yeah,
again. We'll
thank
do
you,
this
man.
again. You're going to be the most featured guest because we're always going to be talking.
I'm grateful, bro. I'm grateful. Thank you so much again for inviting me. Every time I come on here, I feel special. So yeah, I really appreciate it, bro. And yeah, I'm glad to be on this podcast again and on this platform again. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you get up to in 2024 more than anything. So yeah,
Appreciate you, brother. Everyone,
and you
keep it easy.
see you there, guys.